Catholic husbands, what do you do when your wife goes to El Diablo? You know, it becomes apparent and you're like, I'm sort of stuck because I'm here trying to take care of everyone. I've got the kids and my wife's not playing ball, to put it mildly. It's not good. But what recourse do you have? Because we can't divorce. We can't just separate like all these people on YouTube are suggesting, you know, when you type in take your power back and all that. But for Catholics, I thought I'd make a video because there ain't nothing. We're going to talk about the canonical recourse you have and how you can take your power back and maintain your frame the whole time. It's important to know what your position is and what your options are so that you're not just deer in the headlights stressing out to the max. I'm John Farrell. This is Annulment Proof, the only place on YouTube where marriage gets defined.
I'm gonna wear the pants.
I'm gonna tell you which pair to wear.
I'm gonna be the boss little gal, so you better beware.
You can rattle your change and put on the dog and act like a millionaire.
Well, I'm gonna wear the pants, little darling,
and I'll tell you which pair to wear.
Alrighty then, sounds familiar. Hey, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's started with the fall, right? Your desire will be for your husband, as they say. So right now, though, it's been institutionalized, the law all around us, of course, with the state, but even with the U.S. bishops especially, it's feminism, it's no fault, okay? So what we've got here are, I'm going to gear this video primarily to Catholic husbands, although it can apply both ways. If you're a wife in a tough spot, what do you do? Because you can't just get an annulment, you can't just divorce. You don't separate because what God has joined. No, but we're going to get into why we've been in the twilight zone about this for, I guess, ever since the late 60s. And we're going to go back and look at some stuff and then find out what especially husbands can do to take control from just being held hostage because you've got a wife who goes bad and she's all emotion, man, and she's going to kill, right? And you're got your kids, you're trying to protect everything. You've got the mortgage, you got your job. You're trying not to stroke out here. And she's, throwing proverbial axes all around the house, almost hitting kids, and it's not good. But you can't do anything. You're just told, buy more flowers, pray more novenas to untie her of knots and all that. Listen, we're gonna get right down to it, and it's gonna take probably an hour and a half, something like that. But let's see what I can come up with. All right, I just created this video out of nothing because I wish someone had. When I was going through this, I had nothing. I didn't know what to do, and I kept trying everything, and I made some mistakes. But I want to talk about what you can do. All right, and this is some Catholic stuff, of course. You just did a search. You start thinking about separation or divorce, and all you hear about is Catholic answers and roast sweet. It's like I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't figure it out. All right, now let's look at some show notes, and we're going to kind of walk through the program. Okay. Oh, wrong one. Excuse me. Share this tab instead. All right. So I'm going to put all these show notes in the comment section, or the parts of the video, so you can read it all. Now, what do you do? Okay, you got big problems with your wife. She's acting up. She's got boyfriends. She's spending all the money. She's not listening to you. She's mad. She has mommy and daddy issues, whatever, and she's taking it out on you. Okay. Number one, first you got to judge that she has in fact done that. If it should be pretty obvious when your wife's not responding or she's checked out. Okay. What you want to do at that point is schedule an intervention, and I'm going to get into why. This is going to take an hour and a half. All right. So just calm down. I'm trying to get you as much info up close or up front rather than go like Amway and let this stretch out for a long time before I tell you the thing. All right. So you schedule an intervention. Tell all your family, friends, neighbors, everyone who knows the family who's Catholic they got to show up in your living room and confront in this case, your wife. Tell her she's got to knock off X, Y, and Z. You get the priest in there, everybody, whatever. You got to be careful with priests these days, too, because they're all sort of feminist, because they're all marriage is unity, right? So if she has a right to unity, then there's no right to anything else. Therefore, there's no basis, a contractual basis for marriage, and there's no justice. This is why this is what I'm here telling you. We got to know where you stand so you know how to operate. Otherwise, you got nothing, man. And it gets so crazy because you're trying to do something, but of course, when somebody doesn't want what you're selling, it doesn't matter what you say. They're like, no, no, and no. So all the save your marriage techniques, forget it. No. People don't understand until you're in it. Okay, so number 3, file for separation decree at the tribunal. So instead of filing for an annulment, you file for a separation decree. All Catholic dioceses until the late 60s, they all had separation courts, and it's still on the books. It's still in the law. They just don't do that because with NFP marriage, it's not defined. Therefore, they don't want to touch the justice question when it comes to separation. Too darn bad. This is your family on the line, okay? Doesn't get a lot more serious than that, so we're going to go for it. P.S. Anyone have any questions? Don't be shy in the comment section, and then I'll give you my phone number and email and stuff in there too, or in the show notes, so that if you need a little help on any of this stuff, no problem. Okay, my fee is 25 cents per 10 years, so we should be able to work it out. Make physical separation plans. That's what you got to do. You have to take control of the situation. Whoever moves first wins. It's also it's a feeling of power and control, which you need to have because you're the husband. So you don't kind of hang out, let her whip you because she's holding the kids hostage, and you got someone. It's like if you pick up a hitchhiker and you're driving down the road 70 miles an hour, you don't have a lot of leverage, man. If they start getting weird in the car, you got to pull over and get them out of the car, and then you can discuss things or whatever. Maybe at the point of a gun even for that. But when you're all together with the kids, you need to keep things normal or you need to handle it. And like I said, when you start looking up or trying to find out what do you do, they say, oh, just break up with the person. No, this is not about the relationship and all. This is like logistics. Okay, a lot of people stay together with abuse and all because they want to protect their kids. That's true, but there's other ways through the church, and we need to kind of bring this back, okay? It's like bring back the separation courts, okay? This is what we have to do. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of marriage counseling, feminism, and then divorce court. That's it, and that ain't nothing. Okay, now let's just go to. Part of why I've been thinking about this for a long time, and then I just saw this Facebook post. And this guy is explaining how he's basically got what we're talking about, the problem, all right? Let's just read it real quick, and we'll go through it. It's kind of standard issue, all right? He goes, Facebook, this is an anonymous guy. I'm dealing on a personal level with the question of how to handle injustice. So he has a gut feel. He knows that his marriage is based in justice because it's based on a contract. How to handle injustice applied to marriage. I believe the 3 ends of marriage are procreation, union, which is helping each other in our needs, and love. That's not exactly true, of course. He doesn't know any better. He's just heard this, whatever. But he says in that order, all right? So, yeah, those are the order. But the procreation is the only essence of marriage. You have a right to the procreative acts. That's it. It's physical, it's biological, it's natural, and it's legal. No one has a right to union. No one has a right to love. Sorry to disappoint you, Christopher West. You don't. That stuff is not natural. That is of supernatural origin, and it's also secondary, okay? As far as the essence, the justice part of marriage. Anyhow, I am in a marriage where all of those 3 ends are completely missing. So his wife is checked out. Okay. It is so blatant that it makes me think that I'm meant to be in it. So basically, he's having a wake-up call, an aha moment. And God crucifies everybody because he wants you to go to heaven. And we're all overweight, so to speak, and we're not going to get liftoff. when we die if we got all this crazy stuff with us. So everyone who's experienced something really hard, which is pretty much everyone who's listening to me, if you haven't yet, you will. This is what it. So he's catching on. He's like, yeah, okay, here's my cross. Welcome to the cross, my man. It's the cross I meant to carry. Yeah. But yes, can you see me highlighting? Yeah. But yes, I have no marital rights over my spouse. Well, he does, but she's not letting him. That's it. Who refuses even to touch me. Sounds familiar. Yeah. Okay. This is, I'm reading this because it's just really common. Lots of guys get this a lot. All right. And they don't know where to turn or what do you do? Like I said, and you go, like, you start just trying to find different pieces of advice. It's not Catholic, it's not good, so you go to your priest, and he's like, well, it's a standard issue drivel, Protestant. They'll give you Protestant advice or direction, due process, because they don't know any better, because they're just taught marriage is love, there's no more rights involved, and they don't want to upset the bishop. Okay, because the bishop's going to kill him if the priest really says what marriage is. That's why I say I'm the only guy on YouTube that defines marriage, because I got nothing. No one's coming after me. Come on over. There's nothing here. My spouse creates problems rather than helping me. That's like, okay, I got so much to get to in this video. All this stuff is going to be really cool. You'll see. Spouse creates problems rather than helping. That's because she wants to torpedo things because she's blaming you, my man, because she doesn't feel it, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. She wants a problem, okay? Due to a personality disorder she carries. Remember that song from New York Dolls, Personality Crisis? I wonder if there's any of the words in there that relate. I should check that out. Anyway, so yeah, she's probably got mommy and daddy issues or a combination. And therefore, she's, hurt people. She's wounded. And she thought marriage would fulfill her and all. And love certainly is absent from our relationship. So I find myself constantly struggling with continence of my senses, not lust though. And I will lie if I say I never had negative thoughts toward her well-being. This is what they kind of want, to set up a problem so that this normal guy gets, there's only so much stress he can handle. If you're trying to move a piano up a flight of stairs and someone's poking you in the head with a stick, you're like, that's annoying. That's tough. Okay. And then they start whacking you real hard in the knees with it. Okay. It's like, you can only do that so much and something's going to happen. You're going to drop the piano on them. Then they say, we're calling the cops. You're an abuser. It's an extreme situation for sure. We have 3 young children, and they are the reason why I cannot bring myself to leave and seek an annulment. He doesn't know what he's talking about, but he's just heard this. You're supposed to, I cannot bring myself to leave. Yeah, he's sitting here with his little kids. It's called reality and nature right there. You don't want to trash, so you are friggin' stuck. Okay? It's kind of like somebody can do anything they want to if they got a giant shotgun pointing it in your mouth. You're like, hey, whatever, man. Just so husbands are like this because she's got you at gunpoint. She's like, do what I say and the kids won't get hurt. And she doesn't care about the kids. In theory, she does, but what she really cares about is how she feels. It's super overwhelming, controlling for her. This wound, this thing, she's got to, the devil moves in when you get these wounds, and they are high-powered, buddy. So until she gets that straightened out and healed, she's going to protect that wound, those damage, over everything, okay? Because you've seen people do this. They'll just do insane things rather than do what's right because they are driven by their inner child that's hurt. Okay. If I don't find the courage to leave, that's right. You need courage to leave. That's another thing we're going to talk about. What it takes to kind of man up, and then you got to also know what to do. A lot of guys have enough courage, but they don't know what to do, so they keep going back to El Diablo, trying to say, "Can we work?" And then she's there to frickin' start slicing you back, and you're like, "What do I do?" Okay. How do I handle this? He says, please be specific. I'm going to in this video. I know it's my cross. I know the role of prayer and Eucharist and penance. I am looking for answers more on the level of how to reconcile in my mind that I have to accept this injustice. Yes, like I said, okay, everyone gets crucified. It's God's will that you accept this crucifixion, humiliation, sorrow. It's God's will that you experience that. Once you apprehend that fact, now you're ready to turn the corner, okay? Now you got no problems. Think of St. Maximilian Kolbe in the concentration camp. He had some injustice, but he was at peace. Think of Christ on the cross, at peace. Major injustice. I am looking for resources in church teaching and history. Okay, coming at you. Hold the phone. I am completely lost. Yep, everyone else is too that's getting this because there's no frickin'... It's like someone steals your car with your kids in it and you're completely lost. What do I do? Because no one's ever told you can pick up the phone and call the police. You didn't know the police existed because no one's done that. No one's called the police since the 60s. We don't do that anymore. We just... it's all about love now. We just need to pray and try to be nice to the car thieves and hope they come back. That's what we do now. That's how dumb it is. We have to remember that those police still are there. They still have a phone, and they still need to go get the bad guy. It's on the books. We got to bring it back, okay? It's got to start somewhere. He's very exhausted. Yep, that's right. That's because you're trying to just do your natural stuff, help out, whatever, talk to her, and she ain't buying it, man, because she's checked out for a variety of reasons. And there's a lot more people on YouTube that are way smarter than me on all this relationship dynamic and female mental gymnastics and things they go through. So I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to talk about canon law stuff pretty much. Unable to understand and accept this, he says. I might need to follow up on this here after the first round of feedback. For the record, I am Catholic, she is Protestant, and we convalidated our marriage. Okay, too bad about the Protestant thing, but he says, all wrong, I know, but it's a little too late now. Lesson learned, I married too early into my conversion journey. That's another problem I have, the thoughts of regret. Yeah, okay, so anyway, it's a little bit messy, but hey, join the club. Everyone's got that to some degree. Maybe not like you, but... whatever, you got to come up with the plan, dude. So this is our plan. We have to you're got to be the one to move first. All right, so while I'm thinking of it, let's look at a couple little illustrative videos of the dynamic that I'm talking about. Check this chick out in action. Ready, go. There's the husband on the wall, and there she is communicating with him. Her love language. Her love language is death. Death to you, bro. That's how open I am. That's how much problem solving I want to do. You got that? What part of this don't you understand, homie? Okay? There. So that, yeah. By the way, they never caught that chick. She went and tore up Lord Balfour there. I don't know how bad he was, but he was, I don't know anything about him. I read a little bit, I guess. But anyway, so there's the mindset. That's it. You got somebody doing that kind of stuff. Okay. It's go time, my man. And there are women who get that way. And men can get super unobjective and 100% emotion too, but typically it's more common the female. Hell hath no fury. Then a man scorned? Nope, you've never heard that. Just women. And look at her go. So and husbands, you know what I'm talking about. They're all nodding up and down. Yep, that's right. All right, let's look at, let's talk to this guy for a second. I first clicked on him because his clothes were so cool, but he basically is describing the same scenario. Let's listen for a second.
That's heartbreaking. Think of it. For a woman to have been so mistreated in childhood that she had to separate from the essence of being a feminine woman. And that's what created the abusive structure. So men, once you listen to this and you recognize, wow, I'm with an abusive woman, your best choice is to leave and get help.
Okay, so he just said what I was saying. Childhood wounds. Now there's a you know, the monster there. That's your wife, but she looks good, but underneath there's the wounded monster inside from when she was 4 years old, 5 years old. It's come out. Now he says your best choice is to leave. Easier said than done, but he is basically correct. And this is the hard part for Catholic husbands who are like, I can't leave because it's wrong to leave. The Bible says you can't. Marriage is permanent. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, hold on here. Actually, I'm going to show you what the Bible says is something you probably have not heard before because it's not in very many Bibles, just in the Douay Rheims, which is the gold standard, which is where you got to check all your stuff when you start looking at the Bible, okay? Let me see here. Let's share this tab, and we'll go to like this. All right, let's go to Douay Rheims really quick. This is good. Proverbs 18:22. I learned this from Augustine and Aquinas, and I'd never heard it before. He that hath found a good wife has found a good thing. You've all heard that before. Everyone's heard that. It's in your New American Bible and all that. And shalt receive a pleasure from the Lord. He that driveth away a good wife driveth away a good thing. So you can't do that, obviously. But he that keepeth an adulteress is foolish and wicked. All right? You're a fool and you're wicked and you're a simp. Calling Pearl Davis. She hates that stuff. She is so anti-simp all the time, and she's right. But men need to know, especially Catholic husbands, what recourse do you really have, okay? So don't keep the adulteress, but she's not committing adultery. Adultery is not strictly the red letter A word, okay? Adultery is anything opposed to marriage, which I will prove later when I go through the canon law. So adultery is not strictly adultery. It's everything that's against marriage that causes you to not be able to live with the person. All right? So if that's going on, if you have a wife that is going like this, or you have a wife that meets the description of this dude, okay, then you got to do something. And that's what I say. You've got to make a move first. This is part, while I'm thinking of it, listen, you have the most power when you are the first to move. You've heard it said, people say, whoever divorces first wins because the legal system favors you and you catch the other person off guard or whatever. Okay, so if your wife is kind of checked out and she's already thinking about divorce or perhaps annulment and all that kind of thing, and she's been thinking of it for years. So before you let her get all her chips set up, she ain't going to change. She's not going to stop. Did you hear what I said? You are thinking that you want to avoid this crucifixion. You're in the Garden of Gethsemane and you're like, oh, untie of knots. Mary, please help me. No. Okay. Ain't gonna happen. You heard it here first. You heard it here last. Actually, you've heard it from other people too. She ain't gonna stop. She belongs to the devil now, and the devil is not gonna let go. And barring some miracle or this is what's going to happen. She's going to continue with the whole divorce, separation, adultery plan, whatever she's got going on. She's gonna do it. So plan for that, okay? 99.999% of the time is what she's going to do. But that's okay. We're going to cut this off at the pass. Hang on a sec. Okay, so let's continue with our show notes, and then I got one more video to show. So Malachi 2:6. Okay, so yeah, basically back to that Proverbs 18:22. This part here, he that keepeth an adulteress is foolish and wicked. You can't find that in any other Bible except Douay Rheims. It's just not there because it has to do with marriage justice. Because the new interpretation of Matthew 19:9 is the only exception clause for putting away your spouse is invalidity. Therefore, if you can't put your spouse away for anything. Okay, but here it says no, you're supposed to. Okay, this is why the guy said, gee, I can't just maybe I should just get an annulment. That's what everyone thinks. This is the new separation court. They call it the annulment court. That's the problem. All these annulments going on, they're supposed to be in separation court. And then if they ever got there, they would realize there's no cause for separation. 95% of them are frivolous stuff. There's nothing there. There's no reason for the separation. They're just people like, you're not theology of the body enough for me. I'm not feeling the love, so I'm out. Whatever. No, it's a contract to make babies. That's it. If you can make babies, you're in. That's all it is, man. Okay, so this is why this part of Proverbs, you just don't see it in other Bibles. And I don't know when they took it out. I did a little research. Even some older Bibles don't seem to have it. But there it is. You got to get rid of your adulteress. The person who is causing you big problems at home, you've got to get rid of them, or you got to remove yourself, that's another tricky thing. What do you do? Do you separate? That's the other part I said here in number 4. Make physical separation plans. You got to take off. You can take the kids. You can leave her in the house. You got to get her out of the house. Every situation's going to be different, but you have to start thinking about doing something else. You can't sit there in the feminist concentration camp saying it's okay. You've got to realize your nightmare is real and you've got to address it. And it is not the end of the world because God is allowing it to bring about a greater good. Okay. So once you understand that, and once you understand, it's sort of like this, man. If a burglar comes into your house, you may not like it, but it is what it is. So you're going to have to get your gun. You're going to have to shoot him, or you're going to have to fight. You got to fight, whatever. Just like that song. Sometimes you got to fight when you're a man. Who is that? Whatever. Oh, shoot, I'll think of it in a minute. I got to find that song. Anyway, Chris, no. Hang on, I'm going to push pause because it's on my mind.
I must you dad not to do the things you've done. I'll walk away from trouble when I can. Now please don't think I'm weak. I couldn't turn the other cheek. Papa, I sure hope you understand. Sometimes you gotta fight when you're a man.
Yeah, dog. That song went still the car of the kind. That song was like obviously huge in the 70s, and it was a pretty good song because his dad was got in jail for beating everybody up and stuff. So he told his son, "Don't do that," and his son was known as car of the county. And then he had to defend his wife or girlfriend or something, so he ended up busting everybody up in the bar. Hooray for him! Anyway, the point is that it's. You're born to fight, you're born to combat, okay, and this is no exception. So you have an enemy in your house who has infiltrated for whatever reason. It could have been from you or she. This is why the devil went after Eve first, because he could get in there and mess everything up. So hey, you don't talk to the devil, you exorcise him, okay? So you've got to fight. That's the point. There ain't no way out of this. You have to fight, and so we've got to use the tools available. And instead of just getting sliced to ribbons, you don't like Father Ripperger. He does the exorcism. He doesn't go in there trying to enter into dialogue and speak the devil's love language. Are you kidding me? God, no. It's no. You know it when she's checked out. You know it. Okay, it's devil time. That's what's up. Hold on. So let's get rid of Kenny Rogers. All right. Where were we? Sorry for the delay. Here, back to this. All right. Okay. So again, figure out your contingency plan. Where you're going to move, what kids you're going to take, what you're not going to do. It is what it is. Like, hey, when war comes to your town, you're going to sell your chickens and sell everything and go like the family Von Trapp and head for the mountains. It's like you're going to have to do something. Okay? And when you do something drastic, it's not going to be permanent and it's going to cause a good thing. Let's talk about why I say that. Dr. James Dobson, the Protestant, has some correct intuitions here. He has a book called Love Must Be Tough. One of my favorite quotes is in here. We'll get to it in a minute. So he's explaining how does this tough love work? What are you supposed to do? I'm going to turn my heater on. Okay. Whenever sexual indiscretion is occurring, in other words, you got a husband or wife who's goofing around, obviously, a marital relationship necessarily deteriorates with the passage of time. So Kamala Harris was right about one thing. We need to focus on or think about how important the passage of time is, or the significance of the passage of time. I think that was a good quote of hers, actually. It is important. It is inevitable, apparently, he says, that things deteriorate with the passage. That's right. That's why all this, like, I need a break, I need space, and no, it's all lies, it's a bunch of baloney. The more time you spend, the worse it's going to get. You know what I mean? Sometimes I can't think of an analogy right now, but if you kind of wait for the perfect moment, you're going to miss the whole thing. So it's kind of like a now or never deal. Okay, it is inevitable. Therefore, the influence of the husband or wife holds which to pull the partner back from the brink is rapidly seeping away. For sure, dog. That's right. Okay. When people start separating in their mind, their emotions, their physical, everything, it just becomes more. Pretty soon they're like, yeah, whatever. But when they don't want to do it at first. This is why in instances of infidelity, or you got other marriage problems that are just as bad, it is necessary to fire your biggest guns. Okay, did you hear that? As early in the affair as possible. This is why it's man time. You got to stand up and get tough yesterday. What, you got courage? Cool. What are you going to do? I'm going to tell you. We're going to make moves. We're going to make legal moves through the canonical, okay? And we're going to take the initiative on those, and we're not playing codependent with the devil who's in the house now. No way. We're going to admit we got a big problem, and we're not going to kind of hide under the bed about it and hope it sort of gets... No, you're just aiding and abetting the thing, all right? The chance... Okay, here's my favorite quote. What I'm saying... I've been saying this for years. Remember, it's easier... An early blowout is better than a slow leak. So it's better to have a blowout than a slow leak. You got more power. It does more things. A slow leak, it's like, your tire goes flat over a month. But your tire pops right now. You got that. Your life stops, and you got to fix it right now, okay? So that's very important. So let's have a blowout, okay? I was thinking about something. When my wife was doing this, we were going to have an intervention. I had everyone over to the house. It was all scheduled. The kids were at a babysitter. Everything was lined up. And the priest said at the last minute, he's like, no, don't do it. It's just going to make matters worse. He was wrong. He was wrong because he was even FSSP priest. They're geared toward, we need to get everyone's emotions on track and stuff. Hey, when especially these females, when they are in the mode like homegirl over here, when they're like this, forget it. Forget it. No, there ain't. You making it, dude. There's nothing to do except get your club and handcuffs out. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that's going to help her out, man. She don't care about nothing, but she can be sweet as pie at the marriage counselor, and she's going to turn the counselor toward her. Sound familiar? Of course it does. It's all the same. These little demons make the same script, not original. Now, let's go back to the thing. Okay, the chances of saving a marriage will never again be as great as they are after the first indiscretion. That's for sure. The longer you wait, the indiscretions become the new normal. Dig it? It's called, what is it? Incrementalism. Remember that Linda's husband, this is the story, I guess, Linda's husband's bad news in this case, gradually fell in love with the other women. That slowly developing love would never have been possible if Linda had said to him on the occasion of his third trip to the divorcee's house, Paul, you are putting a severe strain on our marriage, and I strongly suggest that you hear what I'm saying. If you persist in visiting this girl, you will come home and find me and the kids gone. So he's not going to want that and stuff, but later, if Paul's been like hanging out with this this divorced chick for like years or something, he'll be like, yeah, it might be good if you leave. So you want, as soon as you sense that there's something, man, as soon as you think we've gone past the 50-yard line on marital damage, take action. Don't wait for the fourth quarter. Don't. Get moving. Okay? Life's too short, and it ain't going to get any better. But people are afraid. They don't want to mess with it. You get stuff to happen when you blow it out of the water, okay? That's what you got to do. The devil wants you to leave everything alone. Like, we got time. Just hang on, and that's easy. No, don't do that. That's what I'm here to tell you. That's my message. Take action. And that action is the canonical separation and the physical separation. And we're going to get into, through the canon law, what that means, how you should do it, and what you should do when the tribunal tells you to just take a hike, okay? Which they're going to. Okay. If he pays no heed, she should deliver on that promise. Yes, that's right. This is why when you start saying, I'm going to file for this separation decree, you are now putting them on notice. Now, there ain't going to be no divorce. There's not going to be an annulment. There's going to be we're going to take this case because she's been telling you, you're this, you're no. Okay, fine. Let's take it to the judge for a he said, she said, because let me get into canon law. Some of you know this, some of you don't, but 10 years ago, nobody knew it. It's like the internet's really helped, and there's been enough people talking about this. Marriage is dead. Okay, and this is basically the solution that Pearl Davis doesn't know or doesn't want to know. It's the contractual rights are enforced through the bishop. Otherwise, marriage is there's nothing there. There's no fault, no contract, no rights, no justice, no nothing. Okay. We already did Proverbs 18:22. Malachi, let's just keep going. Malachi, when thou shalt hate her, put her away. So yes, you've heard this many times. God hates divorce. How many times have you heard that? Many times. It's wrong. That's Protestant, because that's not putting the blame on anyone. That's not finding a guilty spouse or anything like that. You're just saying God hates divorce. Well, yeah, I don't think he loves divorce, but this is what the Bible actually says. You got to go to the Douay Rheims to get the real Bible. Like Stanford Nutting says, we're trying to change Scripture, and they're doing it. So none of this New American Bible stuff, Revised Standard Catholic Edition, no. Look, when thou shalt hate her, put her away. So if you hate your spouse, separate, a.k.a. divorce, okay? That's all divorce is separation with the bond remaining. Put her away. That phrase, put away, is big. That's only in the Douay Rheims and a few other ones, but it's not the same as divorce. There's two kinds of divorce in this world. There's divorce, absolute divorce. I think it's called a vincula or something. That means breaking of the bond. Ain't no more one flesh. You're just broken. No marriage at all. But there's the other kind of divorce, which is from bed and board. It's called et thorum or something. That's it. So that's the kind of divorce they're putting away, is the separation of bed and board. That's all. That's called an imperfect divorce. So that word divorce needs to be used correctly. You can't just throw it around without saying divorce, perfect or imperfect. Saith the Lord God of hosts, Israel, but iniquity shall cover his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. And keep your spirit, despise not. Look, you separate from your spouse, you can't go to communion because iniquity is going to cover your garment. This is what you cannot do. This is why marriage is based in justice. Okay? And if you break the contract, like CCC 2384 says, it is an injustice. It's a grave offense against nature, natural law. Okay? So you can't put them away. You cannot separate from your spouse if you hate her. So you have to love her when you do it, which means she's the guilty party and you're not. And this is why we have to take the message. We have to take the case to court, because each spouse in every case says, it's like the north going Zacks and the south going Zacks. Each one says, you're the narcissist. I'm the innocent party. Okay, who's right? Who's right? The judge has to decide, because this is a public case. It's not just you deciding your own sins and going to confession. No, this is saying that person is the sinner publicly. Oh, really? Says who? Oh, says me. Okay, well, the other person says something different. Whatever. Okay. No, you have to judge the thing. The bishop does. Okay? So, Malachi 2:16, it's no more of this God hates divorce. No, you hate your spouse when you separate from them, all right? So you better do it. You better make sure they're guilty or you are hating them, which means if your kids are half you and half your wife, you hate your kids too, okay? Separation is obviously not what you want. It's not good, but it's better than staying with somebody who's making life bad news for you. And the Bible says you're a fool and you're wicked, a.k.a. a simp, if you do continue hanging out and not manning up and doing something, all right? Where did it say it? Let's review. Where did it say it? I knew I read that. Here it is. Yeah. You're foolish and wicked, bro. If you don't take action and you know you've got a wife who wants to take a box cutter to you, then you're foolish and wicked if you keep hanging around. Okay. Matthew 19:9. We might as well go through that a little bit. This is the exception clause. The Proverbs 18:22. If you go and the exception clause go together. Listen, I say to you that whoever shall put away his wife, except it be for fornication, commits adultery. Okay, so adultery is anything against marriage, and if you put away your wife, you commit adultery. But if she's guilty, you don't, because it's except for fornication. So if she's guilty of something against marriage, this is interpreted as invalidity now, which means marriage is not based in justice, which means the only exception clause is for invalidity. So what they do now is they're like, well, you're not getting along, therefore someone's not capable of love, therefore the marriage is invalid, therefore you can separate because there's no problem. That's how retarded it is. And obviously marriage is based on justice because you can't put away unless you hate her. It has nothing to do with validity. It doesn't say, when thou shall have invalid marriage, put her away. No, it says when you hate her, put her away. Because you can't put someone away because marriage says, till death do us part. Till death do us not put away. Dig it? So that's I just figured that out just now, actually. Yeah, that's this verse right here disproves or proves that they have Matthew 19:9 wrong today. The new interpretation. Oh, by the way, Father Dave Nix, I did a video on him. Maybe I'll link that. He flip-flopped on this. He was the one who taught me this. Matthew 19:9 means it has nothing to do with validity. It's all about you can put away your spouse. And then 2 years later, he flip-flopped on it, and I think it was for political reasons. It's really weird, but he hasn't gotten back to me on why he did that. Anyway, this is some notes from Cornelius a Lapide about this verse right here. And Cornelius a Lapide is the man when it comes to Bible interpretation. You can look him up. The word accept can be taken in its proper and acceptive sense, but it should be referred to not as to the words immediately follow and marry another, but only to those which precede it. In other words, whoever shall put away his wife except for fornication. So you don't have to worry about the marry another part. Let's just keep reading. So as to make an exception case for fornication, then the words would be taken as follows. So this is what he's saying, that this, because God likes to be very brief and not waste any words in the Bible, so he's being very efficient here, but he doesn't want to be too obscure, but that's kind of what happens a little bit. This is what it really means. Whosoever shall put away his wife, which is not lawful, except for fornication, and shall marry another, committeth adultery. And it says, the Ethiopic favors this view, translating as follows: whosoever on account of any other cause whosoever on account of any other cause than on account of fornication shall put away his wife and marry another is an adulterer. So if you put away your spouse for some reason other than fornication, you're an adulterer. Similarly, the Persian, every man who puts away his wife and not on account of adultery and marries another is an adulterer. So just the putting away is adultery, and marrying another is adultery. I did a whole video on that. I know I'm right about that. It all makes sense. You can just fire away in the comments as well if you think I'm wrong about that, because you won't have a leg to stand on, but we can talk about it. No problem. I'm super nice. That's another thing is I like to say it's different about me than everyone else on YouTube I can find that talks about this stuff is I don't just throw up videos and then, like at Ascension Press or whatever, and then they're just aloof. They don't comment back. They don't respond. I'll answer every follow-up question you can possibly come up with, and I'll ask you questions. Okay, so let's go to Canon 1151. I could make this video 8 hours. My brain would explode. I don't think I could handle it. There's so much I could pack in here, but again, we're going to wait to see what questions you have, and I'll clean it all up in the comments, okay? 1151, spouses have the obligation and right, because rights and obligations are concomitant, they go together, to maintain their common conjugal life unless a lawful reason excuses them. So you have to have a lawful reason, like it says in the Bible, except for fornication, yo. Okay, so you have the right to maintain common conjugal life. Hold on. Now 1152 talks about adultery and stuff, okay? All right. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, by the way, so let's skip to 1152 part 3. You have the right. Let's go to 1153 and we'll come back. Now, let's just say this is the case we're talking about where you've got El Diablo living in your house and she's checked out. Okay, but she's still going through the motions and making secretive calls on her phone and texts, and who is gone for a lot, and stuff. Okay, what's going on? A spouse who occasions grave danger of soul or body to the other or to the children, or otherwise makes common life unduly difficult, provides the spouse with a reason to leave. Hold that thought, okay? Like I said, adultery is not just the red letter A word. That's not all adultery is. It's also grave danger of soul or body to the other or to the children, or making life unduly difficult. That all falls under adultery because marriage contract is the right over the body for acts. So when you got too much crazy going on, your rights are denied. You cannot operate with the crazy going. Okay, obvious. So. And Cornelius Lapide will say the same thing. Adultery is, and even Father Nick said that. He admitted that. Adultery is more than just strict adultery. Legally, it's everything that makes marriage unduly difficult. It's right there in the canon. All right. Now, you got that reason to leave, right? Okay. While I'm thinking of it, when you go to the tribunal and you say, hey, I want to separate, or my wife is trying to separate, can you tell her to stop? Or, tell her, no. We only talk to the people who want to do the separating, and you don't want the separation, so we're not going to talk to you. This is why you've got to take they're wrong about that. They need to help out the marriage, but they're not doing it because they're divorce ideologues. They're enemies of marriage. Your tribunal is bad. Capital BAD, exclamation point. They hate marriage. They want to annul everything they can find. It's what they do. They are enemies of marriage per Casti Connubii, because 78, because they separate the contract from the sacrament. So, if it's not a fair fight, it never is, but we're going to deal with it. Okay, just think about St. Thomas More, the patron saint of lawyers. It wasn't a fair fight at all for him. He had to be wise as serpent and gentle as dove. He had to know that everyone was out for him, so he had to think. Okay, we got to outsmart the tribunals a little bit. You got to be the one. You say, I want a separation. I want permission to separate. It says it right here. By decree of the local ordinary. I want a decree of the local ordinary because my wife is making common life unduly difficult. Okay? Or she's doing adultery, or she's got 5 boyfriends, or whatever she's got going on that's just not working. She steals all the money, or something's up and she ain't talking anymore. She's spray painting the house. And you get near her, she gives you that black in the eyes look, and she's got her box cutter. And then she's on her phone with somebody, okay? Now you got to do something, bro. You have got to blow it out of the water. It's all, because if you don't, she's going to blow you out of the water because she's already got plans for that. So You got to beat her to the punch. But you don't just go to divorce court, because divorce is grave offense. You can't do it, nor I got to show you, if I haven't shown you already, the Third Council of Baltimore. It's a grave sin to go to court without the bishop. While I'm also thinking about this, when you try to get to any of these separation things, and if they keep lowering the draw, they keep saying, no, you can't have it, go away, kid, no. You have to publicly keep trying till you're dead. You have to let your wife know, let everyone know, I am not doing this because I'm violating. This is divine law, by the way, because what God has joined, let not man put asunder. And it says you cannot, it says you commit adultery when you separate. So divine law is what informs these canons. So I don't think Lila Miller understands that. Anyone who knows Layla, she says these are the canons, you're supposed to follow them, but nobody does because the bishops don't do that. Doesn't matter. God does. It's divine law. So you have to always, this is due process, you've got to do it. That's what they call it, due process. Canon Law 87 says no bishop can dispense with this due process. You sure as heck can't. It's in the Bible, that's where it comes from. We have to have separation process. Okay. Let's see here. So, either by decree of the local ordinary, or if there is danger and delay, even by his or her own authority. So, you want that decree. You should be able to knock on the door of the tribunal and say, look, I want you to hear the he said, she said. My wife has a boyfriend. My wife brings her boyfriend over. My wife takes the kids to the boyfriend's house. My wife steals all the money or does cocaine, or she won't honor the marital debt. She won't do anything. Whatever. I can't live like this. I'm not going to live like this. It's not part of the contract. Therefore, I want to separate. Can I have a decree, please? Where's my decree? Can I have a decree? And she's like, well, we're going to talk to her, okay? And then they go to talk to her, and she whips out the spray paint and the box cutter and starts doing that. They're like, yeah, you're right, bro. Here's your decree. Now you are the innocent spouse. It's on record. The authority has called her the guilty spouse. She can't have communion anymore. Don't tell the tribunal that, because they're going to freak, but that's what the end of the line is. And this is what they always used to do. When you have a separation, the spouse who's not playing ball, who's not doing what the bishop says on this, there's a word I'm thinking of, but at any rate, they're denied the sacraments. That's it. That's all it is. That's the only recourse the church has. Otherwise, there's no teeth. Please play nice. Please be nice. Thanks, you can consult with that. No. The state can put you in jail. The bishop can put you in hell by removing the sacraments, and that's what is supposed to happen. You, my man, need to take control over what you can do, which is ask for these things, continue to ask for these things, learn about what these things are, and put stuff into action, like your physical separation. Also, while I'm thinking of it, I've watched a lot of separation kind of videos or people talking about breakups and all that stuff. You don't want to be begging your wife. You want to go no contact as much as possible. You don't want to be, you don't talk to the devil, in other words. You got to play hardball, and there ain't no Mr. Nice Guy at all. Mr. Nice Guy left when she brought the devil into the family. And so if that's why it says you're foolish and wicked if you kind of hang out and simp around. Okay, so that's my point is you make it worse if you kind of try to work it out. If she wants to work it out, dude, then she's going to do it through the tribunal, through the separation court, or she's going to say, I'm totally wrong. I'm going to confession. Let's not, if she has a come to Jesus moment, then fine. Otherwise, it's not how it works. So if there's danger and delay, so you're trying to get all this stuff done, but you just can't do it. There's no separation decree coming. They won't talk to you. So if you're trying to get it done, there's no, and they were not, you could leave on your own authority. You want the separation decree. And they're like, we're going to play cat and mouse at the tribunal, and we're not going to talk to you, and we're gonna drag our feet, and we're going to talk to you in 6 months, whatever. Dude, it's time. So you can take matters into your own hands and then you spend the rest of your life getting that separation decree, and you're very public about it. You want trial. You want a court. Matthew 19:9. You can put away your wife for fornication. If she's bad news, you can put her away. You can never marry another because it's adultery if you do that. Okay? You can't get an annulment because they're all friggin' fake. If you can make babies, your marriage is valid. As far as capacity goes. If you have the capacity to make babies, you have the capacity to consent. That's it. So, do you got any kids? It's valid. If you're married in the church, like that. Okay. So, separate, but you can never you can never divorce, of course. Anyway, so that's what that separation is for. That's what that canon is for. Even by his own. So the rest of your life, you're following Matthew 19:9, and you're trying to get that separation decree. And you're gonna be a broken record, and you're gonna learn this stuff. You just say, I separated. I am the guilty spouse publicly because I separated, because I'm an abandoner, because I'm out of the house. I'm supposed to be in the house. Now I'm out of the house. My wife has a right to the common conjugal life. Where's her husband? Her husband's down the street, or her husband's at who knows where, living in a hotel or living in his friend's house or his sister's house or whatever. She's like, okay, well, you've abandoned me. Where's my right to the... Okay. I am in... You've made the common conjugal life too difficult, or you're committing adultery, so I am leaving on my own authority, but I'm trying to get this decree from the local ordinary. Let's go back to 1152, like I said I was going to. All right. This is important, 1152.3, within 6 months of having spontaneously terminated the common conjugal life. That means you, Mr. Power Husband, Super Catholic Husband, if you have taken off unilaterally within 6 months, the innocent spouse, that means you, because there's only one guilty spouse in every separation and one innocent spouse. It's 100-0 every time, because this is manifest break, okay? I'll prove that more in a minute. Okay, the innocent spouse is to bring a case for separation to the competent ecclesiastical authority. So if you boogie, you got 6 months to get that common conjugal life. This is due process. You have to do this. You cannot separate and say, well, my bishop wouldn't hear the case, so I guess I'm off the hook, and now I'm, no. One of you can't go. If there's a separation, one of you is not going to communion. One of you must be cut off. One of you is ineligible for communion, and it better not be you, because you're not trying to get the separation decree. You have to continue trying. Otherwise, you're the guilty spouse because you left. You're not allowed to leave. Like it said, you're doing a bad thing if you leave. It must be judged publicly. I know this all makes perfect sense, but the Catholics have a confirmation bias now. They don't, because they're so into JP2. TOB loves the answer, loves all you need. Okay. In all cases, when the reason for separation ceases, the common conjugal life is to be restored unless otherwise provided by the ecclesiastical authority. That's the local ordinary. So we've got to come up with the reason for the separation. So you left because your wife has let in El Diablo, okay? And she's doing some things that are against marriage. So you could take that to the tribunal and like, look, she's doing this, or she's doing these two things. And then she'll say, no, that's not the cause. You're the problem, bro. You're this, okay? And fine, then we're going to determine who's right. What is the reason? What's that reason? Because when the reason for separation ceases, you got to move back together, because the kids have a natural law right to an intact home. This is not fair to them, to put it mildly. You're messing up your own kids, and you say you love your kids, then you shouldn't be doing any of this. We need to unite. Not on my ego, not on your ego. but on God's will. God works through his church. The definition of marriage is finite. The rules are, the contract terms are stated. Okay? The right over the body for acts. Okay? So we got to go to the local ordinary, and he's going to determine the reason for separation. He's going to write it down on a piece of paper, and then he's going to say, which one of you knuckleheads won't do this? And the one who says no, just like, is it Matthew 18? Treat him like a tax collector or a Gentile. No communion. When a separation of spouses has taken place, provision is always and in good time made for the due maintenance and upbringing of children. That means that you have to raise them Catholic. You have to take care of them. So, my bro, if you're going to bail, that doesn't mean you could just stop paying the mortgage and stop feeding your kids. You have and take off, like move to Nova Scotia. Nuh-uh. So you can go read Anne of Green Gables novels. You've got to hang out as close as you can and keep trying to stay with the family as best you can. Because you have your job, your goal, your duty is to provide. Provision is always. So, listen, she can have you removed from the house. She can make you pay for everything. She can take you to. She can do all kinds of stuff. Just like Maximilian Kolbe knows that in the concentration camp, they can do all kinds of things to him. His hands are sort of tied, literally and figuratively, and so are yours. But before she gets going on all that. In other words, if you know the Nazis are coming to your town to take you away, you can split before it happens, all right? Do something else, man. So get the jump on it. Don't just hang out and go, wow, this is terrible. No. Anyway, so you got to keep taking care of everybody, all right? And then, like I said, you've blown this out, and so this is also going to blunt her efforts to go get a separation from the state because you're already out and you're already paying, okay? So she might not, because if she's a nice Catholic girl, she's like, this is really feminist, commie, cultural Marxist, lame, Satanist stuff to go take my husband to the state and these are my own little kid. I mean, come on. So blunt her efforts and just leave and start paying if she's not going to leave. If she leaves, even better. You stay there with the kids and figure something out. It's just the way it is, my bro. Figure it out. However you're going to do the kids or whoever's going to take it, it's going to be tough, but God will provide. There's somebody there that's going to help. 100%, you're going to have something. There's going to be neighbors, there's family, there's something. Okay, what if you got some brain cancer and had to be in the hospital for 6 months? Somebody would be able to take care of your family. Your grandma in Cincinnati or whatever. 1155, the innocent spouse. Hello. This means there's an innocent spouse in every separation. You cannot have it any other way. May laudably admit, and there's other things in the catechism that speak of the innocent spouse and the guilty spouse. The innocent spouse may laudably readmit the other spouse to the conjugal life, in which case she renounces his right to separation. So you only have a right to separation when somebody is doing something unduly difficult. So if your spouse, says, all right, call off the separation, I'll shape up. Now they've lost their right to separate anymore, or you've lost your right to separate. So this is a legal case. You know what I mean? Of course you do. Let's watch one more little video. Hang on, I'll be right back. Okay, so here's this last video I was mentioning earlier. We're going to, the Happy Wife School, a lot of people know who she is. She's pretty good. She's Protestant and still has some weirdness about her. But she explained some of this dynamic I was talking about of how the wife gets unfulfilled and then basically blames you for how she feels, which means you've gone from all good to all bad. It's the narcissistic kind of thing. Her volume is a little low, so just turn it up. There's nothing I can do about it. She's just a little bit quiet, but let's listen.
Shows us that we are internally unhappy. We wouldn't be looking for the next thing to make us whole, to fulfill us in life, to complete us, to make us happy, if we were already happy and fulfilled.
Okay, yeah, so it's self-explanatory. They want their husbands to make them happy. And So if you're getting married for that reason, you're going to be disappointed. Therefore, you turn on them.
We have a fantasy thinking we will get married and live happily ever after because our husband and getting married is supposed to make us happy, which again, really important, shows us that we are unhappy, that we have an emptiness within us, we have a feeling of lack in our lives, and that there is something missing that if we had would complete us and make us happy. So we get married from that internal experience, whether we realize it or not. So what happens is that experience perpetuates.
When we touch here.
Oh, shoot. Never mind. Hold on. Let me fix this.
Married to check the box of what we think will make us happy. That's actually coming from a camp victim perspective, because we are putting the power and control outside of us, that getting married and our husbands is going to be able to fill that emptiness and make us happy, which again puts that power and control outside of us, which is what.
See that? She says it puts the power and control outside of us. So she's saying the wife isn't going to look to herself for maybe I'm part of the problem or I am the problem, because she's already set up her husband to bring her the happiness. And when he doesn't, or it doesn't happen that way, it's all his fault, because that's the origin. I was okay till I got married, right? Okay, here, listen.
Perpetuates us being a victim. Something or someone else is responsible for my experience of me and my experience of life. That's what happens when we get married, to check the box of what we think will make us happy. It's the fantasy of marriage. And eventually, the fantasy of marriage wears off. The honeymoon phase is over. Reality sets in that we never thought into the future of what a marriage actually is, the responsibility it takes, the commitment it takes, the engagement it takes, the willingness to go through the ups and downs of marriage. We don't think those things through. So the fantasy wears off, the honeymoon phase wears off, and the same feelings of emptiness, boredom, being unfulfilled, feeling like there's something missing in our lives, feeling incomplete, come creeping back into our experience. And because we live in camp victim, having put the power and control of our happiness in getting married and into our husbands, we look outside of ourselves.
Camp victim. Your spouse also is going to blame everything on you, is going to tell the whole world you're the reason why this is happening. It's all the husband's fault. She is extremely motivated to keep that narrative up, has to keep it up. Otherwise, her world's going to fall apart, because she's blowing up her family. She's messing everything up. So she is 101% committed to it's the husband's fault, and that's her story, and she's sticking to it. This is why the cure for this is the separation court, because you got he said and she said. Somebody's not right. What authority is who's going to judge this? Well, God will judge. No. We need to judge now. So that's the local ordinary, okay? Somebody is gravely wrong in what's going on. If someone is causing undue difficulty, this is grave sin, and it is public sin. It's manifest sin. Those who persist obstinately in manifest sin are no longer eligible for communion. That's what's up. That's what we got to bring back. It's just what we got to do for marriage. Sorry. I ate some peanuts. Let's keep going.
For why we are so miserable and unhappy, why we feel empty, why we feel bored, why we feel unfulfilled, why we feel something is missing. And as married women, we look outside of us to our husbands, into the marriage. Our husbands, we look outside of ourselves for why we are so miserable and unhappy, why we feel empty, why we feel bored, why we feel unfulfilled, why we feel something is missing. And as married women, We look outside of us to our husbands, into the marriage, and needing to have something and someone else responsible for why we are so unhappy.
And part of that is because, like the man in the this dude, Mr. Pink outfit, he was explaining how part of that why they have to point to someone else as to why they're so unhappy is because these wounds that they received when they were young, the devil gets in there and builds up the walls and sets up an edifice so you can't touch it. Okay, this is what the devil wants to take you to hell by not letting you heal these wounds. And like Father Ripperger says, you don't get to heaven until they're healed, these wounds. There's that really good video by Jordan Peterson. He's a little goofy, but he says some cool things. It's called The Shackles of Marriage. You could look it up. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes there. It's 4 minutes long. Excellent video, because he says everyone needs to find out the truth about themselves. And when you are able to break the handcuffs and leave your marriage, then you never have to find out the truth. And that's the hard part that people don't want to hear, okay? But everyone's got to get real on what is up with inside of them, and that's a lot of times people just, anything but the cure is usually the problem for those who are damaged. Listen to what this guy says, though. Listen.
That's heartbreaking. Think of it, for a woman to have been so mistreated in childhood that she had to separate from the essence of being a feminine woman. And that's what created the abusive structure.
So because she's damaged, mommy or daddy issues, then she's not going to want to, she's just not going to want to, I'm going to check to make sure my microphone's still working. I sure hope it is. Let me look. Audio, test. All right, cool. We're good. I did this whole video last night and it was silent. I had to but we're getting a better version anyway, I guess. Okay, let's go back to Homegirl. I can't remember. Karen Seitz, I think is her name. Where is she? Here we go. All right. Continue. We're almost done with her.
We push our husbands away, making them the problem. And the responses from our husbands when we push them away is he's distant, he's disconnected, he doesn't do anything for me to show appreciation and love, he's checked out of the relationship, the man I married is gone, I don't know where he went, and he becomes the problem. And by pushing them away, what we don't realize, because our focus is external on our husbands, on the marriage, for our unhappy experience, we don't recognize that the behaviors we have that are pushing them away, we don't even see those behaviors. But then the consequence of the different ways we push our husbands away, the consequence is that eventually, over time, they withdraw.
Yeah.
And this is part of our plan to corroborate our victim story that our husbands are the problem. When we are feeling as women alone.
Yeah, so she's pointing out it's a kind of a self-fulfilling deal, and they set it up so they actually make it worse. That's part of why that time is not on your side, man. Because in some ways, yeah, they're still human beings and they still want what's right and stuff, but they got the devil in them too, with what's going on. And this is why you got to move fast. Okay. Okay. Anyway, she was just saying that it's a if A then B. If she starts to blame the husband, then he withdraws, then she makes it worse, and it's just that downward spiral. Okay, and no one can. It's really super hard to stop unless someone can know what's going on and take steps. This is part of what I'm here trying to tell you guys. No, assert your situation, your position in your situation, and then take these steps. Okay, it's going to take a little bit of this video to get through it all. Here we go.
Disconnected in the marriage, uncared for, unloved, unappreciated, misunderstood, unheard, not cared for the way we need to be cared for, to feel safe and secure in the relationship, so we feel unsafe and insecure in the relationship. When that's our internal experience, we must create the environment and the circumstances to corroborate our victim story that it's our husband's.
We must create the circumstances to corroborate our victim story that it's our husband's fault. We must create the circumstances. Yes. Anybody notice if your wife's going bad that they're kind of making it worse? Sound familiar? Has that ever happened? Yep. They have to do that because that narrative is their only status quo. The only thing they want to have is that it's someone else's fault, because if it's your fault, we're going to have to look at where it comes from, and those wounds are painful, and we're not going there. Right? Right. This is why Father Ripperger says you have to go there or you're not going to heaven. It's called pride, and you've got to get over it and realize you've got to fix stuff, okay? And that means you have to let go and let God. And that's going to be painful because you've hung on to it your whole life, and it's part of your identity now, and you can't stop now. And this is why people don't get hardening of the attitudes, as they say. The way the tree leans is the way the tree is going to fall at death. So this is part of why marriage can help save people, because it's going to force them to get out of their comfort zone and deal with it. But what people do is they say, wow, look at what's going on here. This is not right. It must be invalid. It's not feeling loving. And that's exactly why the tribunal is just evil. And it's a perpetual motion machine. You mess up the kids, and then the kids get annulments too, and their kids get annulments. Let's keep going. Actually, I like what she said so much. Let's redo it.
That. Not cared for the way we need to be cared for, to feel safe and secure in the relationship, so we feel unsafe and insecure in the relationship. When that's our internal experience, we must create the environment and the circumstances to corroborate our victim story that it's our husband's. And we accomplish that by pushing them away so that they react to us in negative ways that we can point the finger out, be a victim, and not have to see that it's us. To see that we are unhappy, and we were unhappy before we got married. We haven't looked there because we don't want to look there.
That's it. That's right. They don't want to look there. Oh, boy. This is the solution that's unique to the Catholic faith, because we have a structure, we have a legal structure that governs the sacraments. So when all this crazy he said, she said stuff is going on, we bring it to court. You've got to go to small claims court, small claims separation court with your marriage. That's what you've got to do. That's the purpose of this video, is to say, bro, you have options, Catholic options. Take it to court, okay? When you got a problem with your neighbor, you know, they're putting the fence in the wrong place, or they let the garden hose run all day and it messes up your lawn or whatever, and they won't talk to you. You go to small claims court. It's not fun. It's not what you want to do, but you got to do it. Now, it's even harder. This is why it gets so tough. And so you go to the small claims court. They say, oh, we don't hear those cases anymore. Why don't you buy your neighbor flowers and maybe he won't let his hose run? No, you need justice. And there's no other way, because you got the Hatfields and the McCoys, okay? It's just everyone's got to unite around God, and God is known as the local ordinary in this case. What else do we have? Let's see. Let's go back to our show notes here. See where we were. Okay, so this is Canon 221. This is kind of redundancy here, but some of you have heard of it. Christ's faithful may lawfully vindicate and defend the rights they enjoy in the church before the competent ecclesiastical forum in accordance with the law. All right, so you've got a right. You have a right to the common conjugal life. That's your right. And it's got to be normal. You have a right to right over the body for acts suitable for the generation of children. That's the marriage contract. Okay, so you have conjugal rights, you have education rights of your children, all that stuff. If your spouse goes in there and starts getting crazy or super distant or whatever, it's like Canon 221. I want my competent ecclesiastical forum. This is what you got to insist on. Now they're going to say no, you can't, and there's nothing we can do. And what do you want us to do? That's a secondary question. The primary one is I have a right and I have rights. I want them vindicated and defended in a ecclesiastical forum. You want them vindicated because if you go to small claims court and they're going to find somebody, the plaintiff is either right or the defendant, and somebody's got to pay. So if you are vindicated, you are correct, then they're going to tell the wife, look, it's shape up or no sacraments. There's the word I was thinking of, contumacious. If you're a contumacious spouse, you lose your right to the sacraments. That's the church teaching. That's what the church always did in separation courts until they faded away. I think I've done videos on separation courts. I got lots of proof that they existed. It's real. We have to have separation courts or you have nothing. Just imagine if there was no such thing as civil court, small claims court. They didn't exist. What would you do when you got, there's problems all over the country. You got people, what? No justice. Everyone's going to be like, screw that. We're just not going to do business anymore. You can't operate. You have to have ways to settle disputes. It's called separation court. You don't have that. People are like, forget marriage. There's no justice. There's nothing there. And everyone's like bailing on marriage. That's why, because they've had to make room. Once you legalize NFP, all marriage justice is gone. There's no legal, because marriage is love. Love you cannot put in a legal document because it can't be defined. Therefore, the rights become infinite, which means they're nothing. Okay? That's all it is. Let's listen to St. Robert Bellarmine here for a second. The Art of Dying Well. It's a great book. You can watch it. You can listen to it on YouTube. It's cool. So many females in these days who endeavor to rule over their husbands, but perhaps the fault is in the men who do not know how to retain their superiority. They call it keeping your frame, dog. Okay? So when you don't have to, none of this, I'm afraid if, and no. No, you got to operate through strength. And you also have to realize that if you're in a bad spot, if you're in a tough spot, accept it and deal with it. Like if someone's coming into your lawn at 3 a.m. and you're going to have to fight them in your bathrobe, it's not what you want to do, but sometimes you got to fight if you're a man, as they say. So same with this. You're going to have to, we're all swimming in this John Paul II theology of the body, mutual submission, feminist wonderland, Catholic wonderland, and you're going to have to fight for the patriarchy and to maintain your role as the head of the house. Okay? And I'm giving you some of the tools to do that. Let's look at Old Testament, Genesis 3:16. Thou shalt, the wife, shall be under the husband's power, and he shall have dominion over thee. So John Paul II says, oh, no, you can't dominate your wife. Baloney. You have dominion. This is, of course, in the Bible, but people say that's Old Testament. And now Jesus came to replace the Old Testament. Yeah, it's because of original sin, okay? Just like women shall have great pain in childbearing. Jesus didn't come to remove that. It's all because of original sin this exists. They didn't have this power struggle hierarchy business in the Garden of Eden. Everything was cool, man. But no, original sin, until original sin's done away with, this is it. You have power and dominion, so act like it. You've got to. Otherwise, you're what did it say? You're foolish and you're wicked. So not only should you take your power, you have to. You have to. And I'm trying to tell you that this is what it is, and you've got to shrug off this feminist Catholic environment we're in. Your priest is feminist. Even your FSSP priest, probably, generally, not all of them, but they're, as far as this marriage law stuff goes, they're like, well, you know, NFP, no. You got to do this for yourself, okay? No, this is why it's difficult. Thankfully, with YouTube, stuff can be done, but otherwise, no, you're on your own. You talk to the counselor, you talk to the priest, you talk to the bishop, you talk to your friends. They're all going to tell you, speak their love language, do what you can do, go to counseling. If that doesn't work, you know, divorce isn't always a sin if the marriage isn't invalid. Oh, just shut up. It's Simp City, man. She's your wife for life. Those kids have one mom and one dad, and you got to stand up for it. Otherwise, you're part of the problem. Yeah, just get your annulment and go get a Filipino chick. Have fun with that. No. Then you'll wake up one day and say, wow, I'm in trouble. Yeah, but it's going to be a little bit hard at that point to get out of it. Those who marry will face many troubles in this life. Those who have wives should live as they do not have wives. So this is part of what they're saying. Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, there's going to be stuff. Okay. 1 Corinthians 7:29. But you should act independent. In other words, it's not all this like Trinitarian love, and we have to keep on fighting for our Trinitarian love, because there's times when it's going to be tough love. Okay? Trinitarian love is not tough love, but it's got to be. I just thought of that. It's so crazy. So they keep saying you gotta. That's really interesting, I think. So all this, Christopher West keeps talking about how marriage is a reflection of the Trinity and the church, and we have to this is what it's all about, blah, blah, blah. No, it may be a symbol of that, a sign of that, but it's a contract between two people to make babies. That's what it is. So you have to keep it real, in other words, and sometimes you got to just be independent-minded, okay? So if your spouse is going nuts on you, it's like time to separate. Anyway, so hang on a second. Look at this girl behind me. This is a phrase you hear a lot. Lay down your life, okay? Which means just basically kind of do what I say. Give in to me, okay? You're supposed to, no more you. It's all about me, the wife. Lay down your, no. Like Timothy Gordon correctly pointed out, you're supposed to, basically be ready to die to defend your spouse, your wife, but you're the man and she has to obey, okay? So this scenario right here, you got to reverse it and be like St. Robert Bellarmine for sure, okay? Anyway, if you like this video, please like it. I'll take a subscription or two. That's cool. And we'll stay in touch in the comment section. Until next time. No more defending mutual submission. Defend your marriage. Take back the power. Make a plan.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What you gonna do when they show up in black suits on your street in army boots? Silence you. What you gonna say when they strip your right?